this guy is going through checklists of protocols of what to do when the engine's on fire. And I am just so blown away, and just very calmly and very collectedly, if that's a right word, or even a real word, going through this checklist. And he said, all right, we're ready to, on whatever heading, do this, 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 and this. And I thought, man, that's rad. This plane could dismantle, and he knows that if he were to do something brash or out of protocol, the plane would be in more jeopardy, potentially, or the flight. And I got to think about that a lot, of like how, there's always a time for like, quick instinctive thinking, right? But at the same time, like, what if we were to fall back on, training or a system in place, a protocol, whatever? My boy Zeke just busted in the office here. Zeke, I can't say hi, Zeke.
Hi.
Zeke,
What's happening, buddy?
Zeke, dude, I can't talk right now. Is Mommy here? Mommy's not here. Okay, she's here. Okay, Zeke, what is the problem, sir? We'll bring you on the podcast.
Is Bigfoot real?
Is Bigfoot real? That's what you interrupted this for. Bigfoot is not real, buddy. Yeah, I know. That's a disappointment. He's mad that Bigfoot's not real. All right, sorry, Zeke. Okay,
I'm not mad that Bigfoot's not real.
You're not mad? Okay, well, that's good. I'm glad.
He also has someone else come in during every week and make sure all the pipe fitting boxes are full. And if they're not, then they bring new ones in. I can't tell you how much money we waste a year going to Lowe's and Home Depot and Menards just trying to get parts that we need.
Without a doubt.
It's probably an embarrassing amount of time.
Which translates to an embarrassing amount of money. I'm talking, I bet you $5,000 in wasted time. I mean, that's just in payroll. I bet you we blow that easy. Plus, the wear on trucks and tires and all that infrastructure to go to the place. Then you miss out on the productive time on site. It's absurd.
With this ordering system that he has, they'll probably be able to give him reports at the end of the year as to how much you used X amount of marking paint. You use. Oh, geez. Yeah. So guess what? If you order a pallet of it, you could save another $400. You just got to pony up front. But it's like you spend $20,000 to save $5,000.
One thing that we added in, I think it was 2018 in the fall, was CRM software.
Mm-hmm.
I know each to each their own. We use Jobber, but everybody has their own preference. But that has definitely increased my competence of our business, just because having it all in front of me on a screen, compared to doing it on, whether it's Google Sheets or something, on paper, having everything right in front of me has just changed my business completely.
Yeah.
And it's so much more professional for us, and much more timely. I saved a lot of time doing that, and it's just a lot less to go wrong. So that's, I encourage everybody who's listening, if you don't utilize CRM software, definitely look into one.
Don't ever price your jobs to go perfectly. And that's something more or less I have learned and have implemented over the years, of always giving ourselves in our jobs, extra percentage of man hours, be it 10% or a day or whatever, of this is how I want it to go. In reality, how it's going to go is this. And it's a lot different too when it's owner-operator versus your guys in the field and you're not there. And your guys in the field are going to make the best field calls they can, but they're not always going to look at it from an owner's type perspective. But that is the cost of, you could almost call it an opportunity cost loss of, dictating and extreme ownership, extreme delegation, which really it's extreme delegation of, letting your field staff figure it out if they're competent enough to do that, which we have pretty competent staff.
The full version is 2.5 hours. And if you have a guy that you bring on and you want to hey, watch this real quick, we have a paver job, or, you just want to give your guys a refresher course, or, whatever, a rain day, something to fill in. This is going to be probably 30 minutes long when it's all said and done. But it's, okay, first you put base down, then you screed this out. It's not why we're using open graded stone or why we're doing this. It just tells you what you need to know.
Right. The basics. It's a primer course, right? Yeah. And
so it's not for the business owners necessarily. It's for your employees. It's a quick training for your employees.
Yeah, there you go. While the other long course is broken down, again, 2.5 hours into chapters, and it goes in on everything. Deep, open graded, open graded, dense graded, geosynthetic, and then again, the how and the why of it all. So that's where, if you don't know anything about it, that's the place to go. Britt and I are going to tell the story here of my story of how I started my company, crashed my company, how Britt and I met, the whole bit. So
I think we've talked about the episode too much.
Hyped it up too much. Yeah. I think we really probably have.
Like,
so, by the way, this is
man.
the 100th episode of the Kid Contractor Podcast, by the way.
Congratulations.
So it's hard to imagine 100 episodes, man. I've done this 100 times. It's crazy. Paul's banged out 500, which is crazy. So with that being said, I'm a little apprehensive of this because I want to make sure I get all the right stuff, all the right information, credit all the right people.
A big thing of being like a genuine page that's honest and open, not trying to show all the, and, folks that listen to our podcast, we share a lot of at Auman Landscape, our shortcomings, because I never want to be the guy out there that acts like we've got it all figured out and we've got it all together. Like that's dangerous, man. And it sets the wrong example to folks trying to, because I fall victim to that stuff myself. I see some of my peers. I'm like, man, why don't I have triaxle dump trucks yet? Like, what am I doing wrong? Or why don't I have big contracts like that? And like, what am I doing wrong? And I play those games in my own head sometimes. And then I've got to clear that headspace out and realize like we are doing us.
Anytime we spend a lot of time working out of town or we're really late on jobs or whatever, we try to schedule special time with the kids shortly after that.
Yeah, to make up for it. And we explain that too, of like, hey, we're working. I feel like we say this all the time, but at, just for clarity's sake, we do tell the kids, hey, we're working real late all week and you're going to spend a lot of time with grandma and grandpa or whatever. But this weekend or next Monday, Tuesday, we're taking those days off and we're going to go to the water park or we're going to do something to make up for some of this lost time. I'm sick and tired of hearing I'm not sick of hearing that because I don't hear it. And that's the problem I've got with it. All over you see this fail often, fail hard, fail a bunch, what horse crap that is. I hopefully can get this really turned on where I'm just like, I am so annoyed and sick of hearing this fail often and fail hard nonsense. And let me just jump ahead and say what the premise of this, my premise is. It should be try hard and try often. But we shouldn't just encourage failure. What we should encourage is don't be afraid to fail. If you try,
see, I think that's what it encourages.
I don't care. Okay. I don't like it, and I think
for everyone, we've had this conversation multiple times now, and I think Caleb just takes it too seriously.
Like I do most things.
Like he does everything.
An unhappy client is likely to tell 10 to 13 people or something, while a happy client is likely to only tell 3 people. So that's why the customer service thing is such a big deal. Why you need to bend over backwards to keep people happy. It's why Amazon lets you return anything, even if you're the stupid idiot about the wrong stupid thing. They see you as long-term revenue, and they don't want you continuing to shop there. And you kind of got to deal that. Don't be a doormat, but you got to know that kind of stuff. It became, again, the one thing that we had to do, which is a good book to read, by the way. The One Thing, right, Britt? You remember who wrote that? It's just called The One Thing, right?
I don't know who wrote it. I just know the name of it.
I
don't have room in my brain for parts like that.
I understand. But what it forced us to do was come up with job descriptions and job responsibilities and a work agreement contract or an employment agreement contract and pay rates and all that thing. And the next thing we got to start working on is like pay scales and stuff like that of like achieve these things and pay goes up. But what that employee issue forced us to do was to get that crap together, because we've been talking about doing that for how long? Years, I guess, probably ultimately,
yeah.
Right? And finally, a couple things came to a head and it had to be resolved. And so we said, we're not moving forward without a work contract. But keeping a pipeline full is a big deal. And we because we got out of the office and we weren't staying on our number one thing, aside from the other companies that were running, things got dry. And so the lesson learned, but I had some people reach out to me because I was sharing this, like, hey, we're a little slow on work because this and that, just my normal daily Instagram story, and even some of the podcasts. But, folks like, hey, it's funny you mention this because I was, booked, same thing, booked out through the summer, owner-operators reaching out to me, booked through the summer, had my head down all summer, pounding out all this work I had committed to. And then next thing I know, like, oh, wow, it's August. I got all this work done that I had booked from January or whenever. And I look up and like, oh wow, we don't have a lot going on in August. And so it's interesting, the takeaway from that is like, you're not alone. Like, I guarantee, even if you made the dumbest of dumb mistakes, there are people out there that accidentally have made those mistakes or have made those mistakes.
Get our business more established. We raised our prices. We took our revenue. I met a guy named Mike Bedell. It's hard to do a podcast and not attribute somebody that changed your life because he helped me with my numbers and the way to think. And it wasn't like any one exact thing he said, but the way he carried himself made me want to carry myself different in business. The year after that, we doubled. The year after that, we broke 6 figures of revenue, which sounds so minuscule now, like to me now.
Right.
But back then, like the goal was to do 100 in revenue.
Right. Yeah. I remember when we hit 100. When I hit 100 solo, it was cool. It's a neat benchmark. Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody gets lost. And I did $500,000. I did $1 million. I did 2.5. And I'm like, dude, the goal was to do $100,000. Like I literally was like, holy Jesus, because I remember watching it on our CRM, and we did 100 in revenue. I was like, oh my God, like it took probably 11 years. Yeah. It should have took me 11 months.
Right.
But that's my story, and I own it. It is what it is. And I don't apologize for it either, because I was in the desert, but I had to prune, I had to learn.
Well, who is going to take care of me best the long term, and what am I going to pay for that? And who has the best business and the employees, and everything is like, I know that if I have an issue, I can come back and it's going to get handled. And so theoretically, most of us run our companies that way, that listen of like, yeah, we charge a little more than most everybody, but we're the most accountable company, or like one of the most accountable companies. We're going to, if you have an issue, we're going to bend over backwards to make sure it's remedied. And then also, if we realize that client is a total pain in the butt, I'm not going to work with them again, by the way, too. But we will bend over backwards and do whatever we need to. Replace one stupid little shrub. Fix a paver that's squiggled or wiggled or done something goofy. Whatever the case is, we are going to jump all over it to make the client happy. Again, so here's the thing on how is a design build philosophy different. So this is one of those things where maybe you charge for consulting calls on a yard reinstall, but again, if you have your vetting process where once you're on the phone with a client, you go through, most of our new yard installs is $5,000 on a 5,000 square foot yard, let's say. Or, our typical design build project starts at $5,000 on a standard residential lot in your neighborhood. Or our paver patios are generally at a minimum $10,000. Start there and go up. You start, and especially too, if it's a referral, another one, that's going to be pretty golden, because they run in the same circles, let's say, that client, they're in my boating club, or I play euchre with this guy, if it's Bob Herfenherbler there, or whatever, chances are they're going to be in the same financial loop, let's say, and they're not going to be too shocked when they see the price. The shop still moving forward is going to be an awesome facility. So we closed on the land Wednesday this week, and to somewhat anticlimactic status, really, right? Britt and I had talked about that a little bit, and it was funny because I was a little anxious that morning just for like, oh God, what if just some stupid thing comes up in closing that nobody foresaw?
You were in a weird mood that morning.
Yeah, we're about to embark on a big voyage.
It was the most debt that we've ever had. Yeah,
and I'm not even worried about that, because we're still liquid for it if we need to be. We're not upside down anywhere. We're okay, but we're holding on to cash and going to go the Robert Kiyosaki method, OPM, right? Other people's money. And I'm not advocating that's right for everybody. And I don't love it. And the long-term goal is to pay everything off and to be out of debt we don't have an actual timeline, but I want to be everything paid off with the exception of the shop itself in probably 5 years. But I stopped watching the news because I just was realizing I'd paid attention to stuff my whole life and just didn't really make a whole lot of difference getting mad about it or getting upset or, even just being frustrated or even arguing and all that crap. And I turned that stuff off and realized what I should focus on is things I can make a difference in. And that is my own business, my company, and, that kind of stuff. And so I stopped it. So I stopped paying attention, and it allowed me to focus on my business and focus on things that I could control. Now, I'm still not saying don't ever not stand your ground on important topics and issues and things like that. Where I want to go with this in today's short talk is making sure that, if you're taking on, because I get a lot of people ask me about, how do I get bigger jobs? How do I get these big jobs and all that stuff? And what I want to make sure is that make sure you know how to do them. That's a big deal, right? Of course. And you could go to the www.thehardscapeacademy.com, learn how to build seat walls, pillars, paver patios, retaining walls, all that stuff to last the test of time. But you've got to be able to install it. You've got to be able to produce the work. And so one of the things, like I said, we had...
You just need someone with a little bit of time, or like looking to make an extra $200 a month or whatever, and you can do all these little customer service things.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Maybe like all week or all month long, you just keep a running list of things that they can do at the end of the month. So like we finished the Herfenerbler project, we finished the...
I got her using my names now. Perfect.
We finished the John project. Can you please send them thank you notes and make sure they get a coffee mug or whatever?
Right.
And just this ongoing list. So it's not even something they have to report to the office all the time for.
Yep. I like that.
But that is how you make your company different from the million other guys out there.
Exactly. Yeah, you provide that value add of personable service.
And Auman doesn't do it anymore. So
No, well, we're too big and awesome, you know. But no, that's fantastic. And by the way,
that's
even
pre-kids, by the way.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And grinding a company out from zero again too. So those are the things you do, and then